Celebrating Nigeria at 65. Now, at 65, Nigeria continues to battle with rising insecurity. But beyond these security threats is a troubling concern about the alleged complicity of security personnel in the very crimes that they are meant to fight. And that brings us to talk about Nigeria at 65, complicity of security personnel in criminal acts in Nigeria. Joining us this morning via Zoom is Comrade Aloysius Atta. He's a journalist and is also the chairman, Civil Liberties Organization, Southeast Zone. You're welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Nigerians. It's still in the spirit of independence, despite the fact that there is nothing to celebrate. But we are 65.
Yes. Now, talking about Nigeria at 65, we're still grappling with insecurity despite, the huge investments in the security sector. Why does it appear that criminality thrives despite, the heavy presence of security personnel across the country?
Well, when the likes of Chinua Achebe said it many years ago that the problem of Nigeria has been the problem of leadership, there is no better time for that reality than now, because when you have bad leadership, you will be besotted with so many vices, and which the chief among them is corruption. And in a corruption-riddled society, you cannot remove insecurity, because the people live according to, without conscience. Anything goes. And there is a climate of impunity whereby those who commit crime, because they know that the wheel of justice grinds very slowly and is distorted also because of that same corruption, they tend to commit evil, commit crime, and get away with it. So that climate of impunity, therefore, entrenched corruption and insecurity into the system. And this is what we have been seeing all along. It's a vicious cycle that instead of the situation abating, it is getting worse on a daily basis. And it seems as if to say there is not even hope in the horizon, because everybody is looking for his own idea and his own opportunity to grab and accumulate as much as possible, because it's like a free enterprise. Anything goes.
All right, Mr. Aloysius, how much of this problem do you think is structural, and how much of these security issues do you think is political?
Yes, there are much, it's structural, it is political. You cannot separate both, because the government that is supposed to be the institution that operates and guides and also make sure that justice is enthroned in the system is complicit. Because when every sector, from the judiciary, from the executive, from the legislator, is also riddled by that same corruption, the political class hijacking everything, it makes a mess of the whole system, that at the end of the day, it is the poor masses that bears the brunt of the whole thing, and those who are not in part of the system, because they are not part of the system, they keep on lamenting. But those who are directly involved in the system are looking for opportunity to accumulate and at the same time consolidate in their corrupt tendencies. So it is structural and as well political.
Now, speaking of the structural weaknesses, what structural weaknesses in Nigerian security architecture makes it possible for these personnel to be complicit in the crimes they're supposed to fight? What are those structural weaknesses that you can identify?
Yes, it is the same corruption, a situation whereby when somebody that is supposed to protect the system is indirectly vandalizing the system that is protecting. And the person also is being covered up because the person at the helm of affairs is also complicit. At the end of the day, look at the scenario. For the security, the police, for example, the patrol team along the road is being sent by either their DPO or their area commander. And a situation whereby the area commander or the DPO gives a marching order that this particular patrol team will come back with returns of a certain amount of money. When they go out, they've been abandoned to do anything and grab as much as possible just to make sure that Oga's own part is taken care of. So a situation whereby they now commit anything in the course of that patrol, if the person who is being victimized decides to take it up and the same complaint comes to the Oga will find a way to block the system to make sure that nothing justice or punishment comes out of it. And that is the vicious circle I see, starting from the little man at the station to the man at the command level, to the man command level at the state, and the man at the head of affairs in Abuja. Everybody, in one way or the other, is trying to make sure when it comes to my own turn, it's either I grab or get an opportunity to protect my own system so that nobody will kind of invade the territory where the person is making it. A situation whereby somebody who is salary as a DPO or whatever, a superintendent of police, is not up to 300,000, and you see somebody of that stature building 4-story building, buying exotic cars, and at the same time also even having transport fleets on the road. You begin to ask yourself, how did this person make this money? A situation also whereby the system continues to oil itself in such a way that the person will even make more room to see how he can continue to maintain the lifestyle and even grab more and more. What do you get? That is what we see in Nigeria system.
All right, Mr. Aloysius, now we know that you're the chairman of the civil liberties organizations, and your organizations has actually issued statements in the past in crimes, elections. But can you describe the civil liberties organizations' work in the Southeast and the specific security issues that you're focusing on?
Yes. When it comes to the law enforcement and security is one of the projects of the Civil Liberties Organization. Yes, we monitor the conduct of law enforcement agencies. We handle reports of extortion. We handle reports of different violations, extrajudicial killings, and what have you. And in the course of these duties, you find out that this cover-up that I mentioned earlier has always been part of the system. Impunity has always been part of the system. So in the course of gathering most of these reports, we issue public statements, we write petitions, we do press conferences, calling on the relevant agencies to do that. But sometimes you get frustrated and depressed that in the midst of all these things, instead of the situation abating, it's getting worse, like I said earlier, because in most times, the system has a way of perpetuating itself. In fact, it is more like a situation where the Bible will say that the harvest is rich, but the laborers are few. In the sense that so many cases that happen on a daily basis, even the government-owned National Human Rights Commission that is supposed to be in charge to make sure that government maintains its stand in curbing most of these menaces. You find out that sometimes also some of the people appointed into sensitive positions there are those who work in collusion with some of these security agencies and what have you, that when petitions come against them, they find a way of watering the thing down using delay tactics and all manner of unending investigation and the cost of time. And you know the saying, when justice is delayed, justice is denied. It is the situation in Nigeria.
The Southeast. In Southeast communities, we find communities accusing security agents of things like extrajudicial activities or collusion with armed groups. So I'd like to know, what is your response to that, and how would you say that all these things or all these incidences are affecting the southeastern states?
Yes, they are real, and it is affecting the southeast states and Nigeria at large, because you see a situation. There is already that erosion. The public trust has been eroded, whereby people doesn't have confidence in our law enforcement agents. They are supposed to defend our and protect. In fact, there was a time, the police, I think during the time of IGP Ehindero, that they came up with that slogan to defend and protect with integrity. But this ends up as a mere sloganeering, because in reality, that is not what we see. So people lose confidence because of the bastardization of the whole thing. Sometimes even when there is an infraction, there is an extrajudicial killing and things like that, they come to us, they report. But because the Nigerian system has a way of stifling progress in this regard, you find out that most times the victims, their families and the rest of them, they resign to fate, because at the end of the day, you find out that this kind of delay taxes I said, and frustration in one way or the other, it becomes to a ratio of when you have like 100%, you have a success ratio of like 15% out of 100%. That cases that eventually get to the end, as in justice eventually prevails, because a lot of factors tend to inhibit this will of justice. So people are already disillusioned, but we will keep trying, no matter how. Some say that another name for Nigeria is corruption, and it's not going to abate, because everybody, as you see, like I said earlier, wants to cut corners. But in the midst of that situation, the voice of reason must still prevail. So we are trying, moving against the tide, no matter the situation.
Okay, so recently some soldiers were convicted and charged for aiding and abetting the enemy. Can you actually, tell us how this translates to, aiding and abetting the enemy?
Yeah, these are known cases we see on daily basis. You find out that the compromise, sometimes you see some of these troubled communities. In fact, like example, Alibo, for example, during this time of non-state actors who occupied various camps and among different forests in Igbo land, you see them brandishing AK-47 rifles. And you ask yourself, these are prohibited firearms that can only be handled by trained security agencies. Before they started killing people, killing policemen and snatching those rifles, they were already brandishing this rifle in the first place, which they used to kill. So we've had cases whereby you find out that some security people somehow smuggle these arms to give to some of these non-state actors. It is the same thing also, and the illegal arms trade. Sometimes you hear that the police busted an arms dealer and the rest of them. On daily basis, as we are talking, arms and ammunition are being moved about all over parts of the country, starting from Lagos and the rest of them. These movements are aided and abetted by security agencies. That is the complicity of the whole thing. I once traveled to Abu to Cote d'Ivoire on 3 occasions. And in one occasion, I decided to go by road. And I can tell you what I saw, starting from Lagos to Semeboda, to enter Cotonou, to enter Ghana, to enter Togo before getting to Cote d'Ivoire. What I saw, if I document it, a situation whereby these people that are supposed to apprehend those carrying prohibited arms and other products, what they do is that the people will come, park by the side, go and settle them ahead of time. And when they just get to the checkpoint, it will be like a normal exchange of pleasantries. And because of what? Settlement has been done secretly. So that situation is what made it practically impossible to checkmate most of these things. So that some of these, that incident where some soldiers were arrested and paraded for complicity is just like I said, 10% out of 90% of what has been going on all over the place. It's a public knowledge. We take it in Nigeria as that is a normal thing.
Now, from what you've said about, we have more cases of these complicity, but just a few number of them we hear on the news or we see on the papers that have been convicted of one crime or the other. Now, what would you say are the legal and institutional gaps responsible for this culture of impunity where we find these security personnel complicit in a lot of crimes, but we don't see huge numbers of them being convicted or being brought to book?
Yeah. Some say that corruption has been entrenched into our virus, our system. It's the cankerworm that has eaten deep into the moral fabric of the country. So it is that same corruption that makes it practically impossible for to have sanity in the system. Because everybody, if you have contacts one way or the other, you see somebody that directly involved in a criminal matter, indicted, but the person will use his contacts, money, and every other thing to pull the strings to make sure that he's extricated from prosecution. Or even if the person is facing prosecution, it will end up in such a way that there will be a watered ground where the person will be left off the hook along the line. So that is the challenge. So that has always been how to rid Nigeria of corruption when the institution has been made strong in such a way that people are actually punished for any wrongdoing without cutting corners. When people, the institution is strengthened in such a way that you see people being convicted for life, you see people paying dearly for whatever crime they committed. These are the things that deter people. But so far, there is that climate of impunity, whereby as long as people do certain evil acts and criminal acts and get away with it, it will continue to send the signal that once you know your way, you can do it and nothing will happen. So if government will be able to stamp its feet in such a way that every evil weed is flushed out of the system, we can have a new Nigeria where people will actually get committed in what they are doing, follow the rules, and to a logical conclusion without bending. And people will also learn from example of what has happened to others.
Now, so some analysts argue that elements of the security forces and even politicians profit from criminal networks. Allegedly, how true is this? And why is it that when senior officers get complicit, there is delay in prosecution? And sometimes people would say that the junior officers take the fall for their actions.
Yes, the big man, unquote, will always be protected. They are the big fish. That is why in Nigeria today, you've heard of VIP prisoners. If you go to Kirikiri maximum security prison, you'll find out that there are some people there who sleep in air-conditioned gyms, big beds, foam, and the rest of them, everything at their beck and call. Why do we have VIP prisoners? It shouldn't be. So if a system discriminates between the high and the low, that is what you get. But the law is supposed to be a no respecter. The law shouldn't respect faces or status. Once you run foul of the law, no matter your status, you go in for it. But because the big men find a way to cover up, to block access to justice and what have you, and those in the system who are supposed to stick to the process find a way also to oblige them of some of these things, that is what you get. You find out that the junior ones sometimes, in many cases, suffer for the sins of the superiors because they are the ones that can be easily sacrificed. But the superior has garnered clout, money, and contact to cover his way. That is the irony of the whole thing and the tragedy of the Nigerian society.
So now, Mr. Atta, what is the solution? What would you say are the things that needs to be done, both as a country and the security sector and everybody generally? What is the solution to this problem? Is there any solution at all that can bring Nigeria out of this issue of security personnel being complicit in criminal acts?
Everything in Nigeria, not only the security sector, but you find out that almost every sector is in a mess. And until we take up revolution, you may say revolution is too harsh, but there are different forms of revolution. It mustn't be a bloody revolution. There is what we call conscience revolution. That's my own concept. If we don't adopt a kind of conscience revolution, whereby people will actually stand for what is right and do it, then those entrusted with the power of dispensing justice begin to a kind of do in-house cleansing from their various posts one by one. In our various families also, the revolution starts. In our mind also, before it gets down from the top. You can, even if you start from the bottom to the top, or start from the top down to the top, the bottom line is that we need to change the way we are doing things. Because they say that you cannot continue to do things the same way and expect a different result. Nigeria needs a total overhaul in the way we run things. And the most important of them all is to make sure that this climate of impunity is removed from the system. When somebody commits, the person will go in for it without cover-up, without pretense. That is the first step that will make everybody to sit up in our various corners.
Yeah, but some people are of the opinion that state policing could be a solution. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Do you think that having state security personnel like state policing could be a solution to the problem?
Well, it might offer a solution, but not without its own dangers and abuses. You see what we are experiencing also now, even this vigilante of a neighborhood watch and what have you is also a semblance of a state police. But we see a lot of infractions, a lot of abuses inherent in the system. So state police cannot offer us 100% assurance that things will normalize. If we don't begin this conscience revolution that I advocated, no matter what you do, in fact, somebody said that even if you bring down the saints in Nigeria, the person will get corrupt immediately. Because of what? We have ingrained this corruption in our system that it is a way of life. So a state police that is not immune from corruption we still commit more than what we have presently. So that's why I say that until we overhaul the system and begin to change our mindset, our attitude towards handling things in the public domain, we cannot make any headway.
All right, Mr. Aloysius, do you think peace deals or mediation, with Nigeria and some sort of terrorists can actually go a long way for, solving the insecurities in Nigeria?
Well, there is what we call the stick and carrot system. But a situation where non-terrorists are given leeway, you see them, they come for negotiation and they brag. You see them come out with sophisticated weapons, and the government is a kind of romancing them as if to say that they are already overwhelmed, that these are the people that are actually in charge. That kind of system will breed more violence and insecurity in future. Because these terrorists, what have you, they are not supposed to be stronger than government apparatus. But because of this complicity that this topic is focused on, and collusion and what have you, you see them amass weapons, power, and raw power that they display, that they are actually in charge. And the government is looking the other way. It is only a failed state that, in a failed state, that you see that kind of situation. Ordinarily, they are supposed to be checkmated. Terrorists do their own thing, but they don't run the show. In advanced countries, in US, UK, and the rest of them, they are not in charge. They can strike sometimes, but you see the commitment of government in making sure that not only that they hunted down, but they are decimated. But this one is in our Nigerian system, we allow them to operate in such a way that they take charge, while every other person, including those people in government, forwards into submission. That is a serious anomaly.
All right, Comrade Aloysius Atta, thank you so much for joining us in the studio this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. We will end that conversation here. And we just spoke to a journalist and chairman of Civil Liberties Organization, Southeast Zone. And we just also spoke about Nigeria at 65, complicity of security personnel in criminal acts in Nigeria. We'll end that conversation here. Stay with us. We'll be right back, and Signature Morning continues.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges. Completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
We are local.
The international community is observing
Why the main market is in chaos. People are Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
And now we're moving on to a different topic this morning. We're going to be looking at the Igbo landing, revisiting diasporic heritage of the Gula Geechee ancestors of Georgia, USA. A very interesting topic at that. And, you know, it's something that we can't wait to unpack. Now, joining us this morning via Zoom is Dr. Rosemary Wangu. She's an education specialist. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Thank you for having me. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. You're welcome.
Can you hear me? All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Good
Now,
morning.
tell us about the Igbo landing. I mean, most of us don't know the full story, and we want to know. So tell us, what is the Igbo landing? Give us a general overview of what exactly transpired.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to get your name so I can call you by your name. Yes. So, the Igbo landing is a story about 75 Igbo slaves who chose death rather than be subjected to a life of evil, a life of indignity and suffering. So they chose
Dr. Rosemary Wangu, if you're still there, please go on. We can hear you. All right, it's quite unfortunate. It seems that we're having some issues with hearing what she's saying, but we'll go on a break, and when we return, we will continue.
We are local.
The international community is observing every
Why the main market is in chaos. People are
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
I'm sorry.
Signature